Hey everybody, it's Carpo here. I'm gonna stick my neck out and call bullshit on modern numerology. In fact, this is something I've been thinking about for a long time, and something I've researched pretty deeply. And I'm calling bullshit on mostly life path numbers. And I think it's stuff like this that makes the whole movement that people call New Age seem hokey, when it's really a lot of people trying to find the truth. And we understand that numerology is important. We understand that numbers represent an important part of our world. Mathematics can explain much of what's going on. And sacred geometry, octaves, I mean, we could go on and on about the meaning of numbers, the septenaries. But numerology that I'm speaking about, or what people are calling numerology, is really garbage disguised as numerology, is life path numbers based on your birth date. I can't seem to get over it. Now, no offense to anyone who's involved in this, because if you can show me evidence that there's any legitimacy to this, I'd be willing to look at it, but not just comparing people's personalities to what a number might say about them. The reason why I have this issue is because we're basing this on a calendar system that we created, okay? But not only that, we're basing it on the the system, the 2014. Okay, so why should 2014 have any bearing on nature whatsoever? You see what I'm getting at? If there's a number, a natural number that represents our life path, how would that have anything to do with the year 2014? Or the 25th day of a year, or of a month, sorry, let's see if I can explain this a little better. Basically just using the Gregorian calendar alone just totally lends no credibility to this type of numerology whatsoever. Now, if I take it a step further, these people will tell you, look at the time, the day you were born. This is where it just goes apeshit. Now we're basing it on seconds, which the second is the rate at which a cesium atom decays, something we use to create times. Now, I understand the base 60, the base 12 systems, but what it comes down to is this. There are 9 numbers. 9. So, if you're going to reduce your number to a life path, guaranteed you're going to find some characteristics in that life path description. It's a lot like reading a horoscope. Horoscopes are based on times during celestial events when you were born. Okay, these are celestial events which occur, maybe the conjunction of Venus, the conjunction of Mars, so on and so forth. So when these events happen, they can determine personality types. Now, I believe that's very credible and very legitimate possibility. And I do give credence to that. But this is going by celestial events. As soon as you start going by numbers, man's numbers, you can see where it just calls out bullshit. How could the time of day you were born? I mean, you make one mistake, 1 minute mistake, you say you were born at 8:13 and the doctor said it was 8:12 or 8:14. Does this have any relevance? What about the seconds that you were born? What if you were born at 8:13 and 12 milliseconds? How far do you take it? And how far do you keep adding these numbers until you find something that resonates? And if people find comfort in this, then that's fine. But please, don't put any money into this. Don't give anybody money who's asking for any of these type of things. And don't base your life on your life path number that you were given by some numerologist. I want to believe that this stuff is true. I'd like to say, oh, that's great, I can figure out what I'm meant to do. Put it this way, if your life path number really determines anything, it means that, oh, my son was born today, I can look up his number and know what he's supposed to do. Set him on this particular path, let him know. I don't see the world like that. Nothing's cut and dry. I don't see us as having paths or destinies for each individual. I think we create our own destiny. We create our own labyrinth. We can walk in circles, or we can walk in mazes, We can do it however we want, but you know, I know a lot of my subs are interested in numerology and in particular, I can't remember, what is it, gematria? Isn't that the having to do with the numbers? I've studied quite a bit of occult philosophy and ideas, but I haven't necessarily covered it all by any means. But I find a lot of it fascinating, and when I got into Manly Hall, I started learning about the septenaries, the importance of 7, and the importance of 33. I guess the reason why I'm making this video and what really triggered this and why it's on the top of my mind is because I've been seeing 33 everywhere for the last 2 days. Not just 33, but I looked at the clock and it was 11:11 this morning, then it was 12:22. I've seen 33 probably 7 or 8 times today. And my son decided, he was watching this show called Goosebumps. It's this kind of kids scary show. And I decided to sit down and watch part of it with him. And it was this girl who got 3 wishes. And her first wish was she wanted to be the best player on her basketball team. So instead of making her the best player, it made the person she made the wish for made all the rest of the girls on her team horrible. It was one of those old meaningful, symbolic, archetypal type things, like you should have been more specific in what you wished for. But when she went to play the basketball game, because I'd been sitting there thinking about how I'd seen these numbers all day, her jersey number was 33. And I laughed because when the next episode came on at the beginning, the Goosebumps show, the letter G from Goosebumps goes across the land and it flows all over. And I started saying, every time I see something like that, I think, there's probably somebody out there who will see this and think that everything was put there purposefully, that G was meant to represent the Freemasons, and the 33 on her jersey was meant for this and for this and for this, and they're just trying to program us. I'm not gonna get into that. I don't know. R.L. Stein is the guy who created it. I don't know what his deal is. I'm not gonna say yes or no. But it got me thinking about how we read into things more than is really there. And sometimes that can be useful, but a lot of the times it can be harmful to us. And I think numerology is one of those things. So if you're gonna be interested in numerology, you're gonna get into that kind of stuff, just be careful, and what you believe, I guess. I've looked at it a lot of different ways, and it just does not resonate with me at all. The birth number and the life path numbers just do not resonate at all with me personally, and that's really all I have to go on. People can say this is true or that's true, but I'm going by my feeling, my gut instinct, but also my intellect to look at this and say, okay, how can this be true? We don't even know if there were errors in years in the past. What if we're 1 year off? What if it's really 2015 AD? People have argued that. Some people say we're decades off. Then again, we have the time between the birth and death of Jesus, the 30 years that I guess wasn't on the calendar, right? So we have BC and AD. How can these numbers correlate to numerology? And in fact, a lot of people would say numerology is evil or satanic, so therefore it shouldn't relate to our biblical calendar. I hope this makes sense, because I considered it deeply, and I've heard a lot of people getting ripped off by scams, just believing that they're really paying someone, and to see their future, to understand who they are through their birth date or their these days you can just put it in a calculator, online, and do it anytime. And it'll tell you your life path and everything you're supposed to do, the kind of person you are. That's another form of programming altogether. You got to wake up every day and have a different path and be a different person, carrying the values that you've learned and be pliable. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I'm sure that I'll have people who will disagree. If so, I would hope that you would at least explain why you disagree, and if you have any evidence to support, or that maybe you can explain to me or lend some credibility to why the hours and minutes in a day matter and the seconds don't, or whether 2014, the date that it is, why it's based on the Gregorian calendar. How can these things really give us any universal knowledge of ourselves. And that's what I'm trying to say. And I just don't see it. So those are my opinions, and I'm sure that everyone has their own. So right on. Peace.